Hey, how's everybody doing? Mic check. Give me a minute. I'm waiting for it to come up on so I can watch the stream. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Hey, all right. I didn't have to restart the mic to get it to work today. That's cool. Um, I I was gonna. I got busy. I got busy in a couple things. A just slow start. But I actually was gonna look because it's slow news. For right now, we're hitting one of those epic dry spots in the UFO as far as I can tell. And so, like, I'm like, well, like I did the other day, I was just watching that video, and about halfway through it, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta do this for the podcast, and so I thought I'd look around and see what I could watch. And Hanger One, uh, there's a couple episodes of that. I mean, I think they're all good. But like I said, I don't wanna do the whole series. If you find like when I cover UFO Witness, or I'm gonna do a couple more episodes of that. But when I do those, if you find it interesting, then you should try and check it out. And that's all I'm trying to do here is spark a debate, maybe get you interested in some of the stuff I'm interested in. But it was you Hunter or Hanger One, and I believe that I think they advertise it. This is what pissed me off. There was somebody chatting. They were just slamming them, and oh, they don't open their vials up to anybody. And it was I don't know if it was MUFON or one. I think it was MUFON, and it's whatever one is used for. It was before I got sick or while I was getting sick. Um, they had a they were having a debate, and this one guy like, well, they don't share their files, blah blah blah. And I go, they probably don't share them with every fucking knuckle dragger on the trailer park, but I'm sorry. This is why I'm good for digging up stuff, but I'm just not. I'm missing that part of my brain that might stop you from saying something. While maybe true, that it's gonna offend everybody. And I am. I'm a flawed person. It makes me imperfect. I don't really feel that bad about it, but uh, I think I said I go. Hanger One. They're based on their files. So if you have some intellectual need and you have some intellectual credentials, or if you are, if you want to make a show, yeah, they'll share that. But I go, they're under no obligation to share them with every fucking idiot out there, and not even me, like with the podcast or whatever. And and then they think, well, they got this information and they didn't share it yet. And again, I don't want to get in the habit of being the fact checker for every fucking idiot on the internet. But they I looked it up, and the information I got, it was off of their website. Uh, it showed that they had received it, but they haven't had chance to verify it. Well, they're not going to put it out there. See, and this is the thing. And now he might be an idiot, and he might be someone that's trying to discredit him. That was something that Jeremy Corbell said. He's had little, and then this goes with another case I heard about. Um, they he's been approached by people, and he has contacts in a couple different agencies, and he looked them up, and he's like, "Oh, they're legitimate. They're legitimately working for the government," and they gave him information that checked out. It was good information. And then, a little bit later, then he noticed that they started giving him bad information. And if you go to that story I told you about, and again, I just heard this. Um, the I wish I could remember the name of the documentary or whatever I saw in it. The Y Files was one of them, and then I think maybe it was all on the Y Files. That you had this guy. He was a World War II vet. He was, I think, Coast Guard. He learned how to operate the radio, or he learned radio stuff when he was in the military during World War II. And then when he came back, he made a career out of it. And he worked his way up the ladder. I think he was with CBS Broadcasting. I think he was Tiger Scientific, might have been the company he created later. And I don't know if any of this is true. I really don't. But the theory is that he was fucking targeted by the military. And I keep getting these two, Corso and Doty. They're both military. One of them was Army. One of them, the piece of shit was Air Force, I believe. But I keep getting those two mixed up. I think it was Doty. And if I've gotten it wrong, I apologize. But I think it's Doty. I'm not. But I get them mixed up all the time. And but one guy worked for a secret branch of Air Force intelligence, and he was doing this covert assignment to debunk or discredit or whatever. And they covered in there again. I don't know. I think some of it has come out on Doty, but there's still a lot that's classified. But that right there, uh, it sounds to me like he broke the law. He was he did a disinformation campaign on American citizens on American soil, and I think that's illegal. I I just it's immoral as hell, but I think it's actually illegal. Him and those who ran him. I think they would be ready to tar and feather him, but the guy might have fucking facts and evidence because it's the only way I can figure why they haven't fucking, or he's still working for him. But they but they drove this guy insane, and the story goes. They put him in. He died in a fucking mental institute because of what Doty did to him, allegedly. And it was in there that he was giving information. It was a law enforcement guy who, he it's the same thing we have today, where people give law enforcement, they give them a lot of credit that they don't necessarily deserve, because and it comes off, they know it, they're banking on it. Because I don't know how many times I've been in an argument or a discussion with somebody. Well, I was in the military for 20 years. And one of them literally said, I walked a patrol in the desert for off and on for over 20 years. Well, you might be an expert about walking a patrol in the desert, but that doesn't mean you're an expert at anything else. Anything else. Doesn't mean you're. This is like from the Jack Reacher movie. Uh, he said you can take someone who is below average and make them seem competent with the military because you drill them on how to do stuff. And that's a fact. And these people they get ranked. People have to listen to them, and they get it into their head that they're really really smart or they're really competent, and it might not be true. And I mean, I'm not trying to bash them. I'm just trying to be honest. You have to judge them on their own. uh when oh god, this is not a bad story. I promise. Well, it might be bad for the union. I don't know, but when I was working down at Indiana, it was near the end. It was like the last year or two that I was there. There was he was management, and he made the comment. We were all walking out. I think it was the end of the night, and I think it was the end of the night, and I overheard this guy saying that, yeah, 20 years of the military did not prepare me for this shit. And and it's real simple. The Some of it, and again, I don't know the whole story, so I don't really know who's at fault. But I got a feeling it might be the union that was causing him some aggravation. But these people that they hire for management at the lower levels, they get caught in between doing the right thing and following the contract and then doing what their bosses say. And I don't know if it's a mid-level thing or it's a upper level thing, or I don't even know if it's a corporate thing. I really don't know. But my personal experience is there's some level of management. They do not want people following the contract. They do not want, if it's going to shut them in, if it keeps the line running, they're all for following the rules. But God, this was when I was on the IP line. They had this new foreman, and I basically stated to him what the rules said, the quality rules or whatever. And and you can take my word, you're there. People are more than likely gonna lie. But when I was writing a grievance, uh, I pointed out what the rules were, and see if they settle it, then there's no reason to write up a grievance. So you gotta give them a chance to fuck up. And he goes, "Well, you can't really expect us to do." And then the guy that was the former foreman, he was businessman. He's like, "Shh, shh, shh." Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, don't fuck with this guy. He's he means it. This is the way it is." And and that's all I expected to do. And then we wrote up the grievance. Uh, I don't know if I still got it. You could barely read it, but the but and we caught him. He really, and this is the guy that answered the grievance. It was the business manager, and what it was, and I can't remember the exact thing, but he it was all double talk, and he's like, well, we since we're not following that on our board, it's not a problem. It was something along those lines. He was like, because we're not following it on the board, it doesn't matter if we're following the rules or not. And I immediately flagged that on the CEO. I'm like, hey, I don't know, you probably can't read it any better than I can, but I go, this is what it's getting at. Like, the original might be in better shape than my carbon copy, but I go, this guy's saying that it doesn't matter if we're following the quality rules as long as nobody's tracking it on their board. And again, you can either believe me or not. I don't care. But this fucking guy, I didn't hear this from him. I heard it from his team leaders in his department over there. He was across the aisle from me. They were telling us, they're like, oh my god, he's giving us classes on how to fuck with the board. Like they had a They had a board for the team leaders. I don't know if it is anymore because it's constantly changing. They used to have a level 4, 5 board, which was management and the group leader or team leaders, and it was group leaders and team leaders. And then they separate them. The group leader had one, and we had one. And but he was basically telling them how to fuck with the board. Instead of, and again, I'm not saying it would have solved every problem, but if people used it as intended, a lot of problems would have got solved. But he's like, you know, he's like, well, if you put something on the board and you can't solve it, well, then you're green. No, that's not the way it's supposed to work. If you can't solve it, what you're doing is you're supposed to write a fucking problem solving ticket, give it to the people who can solve it, and then you keep track of it. If it ain't fixed, it ain't fixed. But you don't have to leave your area. You don't have to fucking troubleshoot the whole plant. And that was another thing. We had this group leader in management. She was a real fucking idiot. I heard that she had failed. If they're lying to me, I'm lying to you, but I am not doing it on purpose. But she was she failed the foreman's test. She was a contract foreman. She had failed the foreman's test like multiple times. And my understanding, and maybe it's wrong, but and this wasn't somebody told me, but it's my understanding that if they failed it once or twice, they were gone. So she was either related to somebody, she was fucking somebody, or maybe it was one of those corrupt deals where you had to hire the idiot fucking relative of some official in office or in a position of authority over you. Maybe that's how they got. Maybe that's one of the ways they got. They At least this is what I heard, that there were instances where they had people that would grant management like get out of jail free cards. Like you get caught speeding or drunk driving, and it's just whitewashed over. You don't get arrested. There's nothing on your record, especially because you're driving a company car. That's what I heard. Don't know if it's true. I never witnessed any of it, but maybe she was a mayor's daughter or something like that or whatever. But she was just a total fucking idiot, and but I forget where I was at, but they. Let me get back to the UFO thing. Um, yeah, I can't. I'm gonna do this best I can. I might end the stream a little bit earlier than I was planning. I was having a pretty good day. This morning I got lightheaded when I was fucking putting some thoughts out there on threads. But the let me see here. We got oh well. Anyways, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, I can't recover it. But anyways, in the HB or the Hangar One, uh, well, anyways, uh, yeah, I got sidetracked. I'm sorry, but yeah, Hangar One, they had a thing on, and I was gonna do this today, and I just didn't get a chance to go over it. But hang on, let me find out. Okay, and there was a thing, and there were like several good episodes, but there was this one on cops and UFOs. And I was gonna do that, and because it, and I'm gonna do it again, but there's a real life story of mine that kind of relates to that. Uh, back in my fuck, back in my 20s, I might not have even been 21 yet. I can't remember, but I live right near the border between two states, and I'm like fucking 20 minutes, half hour from the border. I'm not exaggerating. It's like you can just about spit and hit it from the front door here. But I went down to get lottery tickets because back then they didn't have uh, the Mega Millions or something. You could get the Powerball here. I think you could get it in that state too, but you could get the Mega Millions in the other state. And I wouldn't have driven like an hour for it, but it literally is not. It's about as far to go there as it is to go to the other end of town and hit the grocery store. And it's about the same because again, we live real close to the border and we live real on the southern end of the city we're in. I'm in the rural bucket now, but they and I was driving down there to get the lottery ticket, and it was on the radio, and I think it was live. I think it was happening. I think it was happening as we spoke. As it was on the air. I don't think they were regurgitating what had happened earlier, but they and they it was like these police from multiple counties were following a UFO. Now I didn't see it. I did not have any firsthand contact or secondhand contact with it, but they were reporting it on the news because it still isn't bad, but the one I don't want to get caught up in. But yeah, I'm just gonna stay here. I don't want to go out and get caught up. I'll just stay here. Um, but they were it was law enforcement. Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, there was. Hang on, I'll get back and finish it. But anyways, you had law enforcement who we give them a lot of respect, or we have. Maybe with the don't fund police, that kind of got shot to shit, but some of them deserve it. And and the majority, it's like anything else. There's always a slim few that make it look bad for everybody else. But this cop, he was an active duty cop or reserve cop or something like that. Uh, he trusted this guy because he was Army, he was Air Force, Special Forces, or intelligence or something like that. And so he instantly trusted the guy. And that's what he did. And again, I don't know, but some of it's true, maybe not, maybe all of it's true. I don't know. Uh, but at least Doty is a piece of shit. I think that's pretty well established. But he did the same thing to the modern day UFO guy was talking. The exact same thing. They gave him some stuff that was good, but see what they were doing is they were using him to set other people up. Because if you think about it, if you are a UFO person, and I'm the same way. I will trust people to a certain point, but if you fuck around, that trust is forever gone. You'll never earn it back. And it's the same way. So that was Jeremy Corbell, that's his name. And he said, he goes, yeah, that I found out, I get these guys that'll give me good information, and then after a while they start trying to slip me bad information because see if they can get if they get him to release one thing that's skeptical, that trust is going to be gone for a lot of people, and he'll never get it back, and that's their goal. And it's the same way what they do with all of them to a certain point. What they did was this one he was given good information, and then they set him up to where they were going to have him give this guy at Tiger Scientific bad information because he gave him something to give him to pass on to him, and he had been given the good one before. So and he had actually read the stuff, he was interested. And he looked at it. This is the reporting on it. That he looked at it and he goes, "Well, I'm not going to give him this. This is not what you gave me on the other one." And the guy goes, "Well, you don't have to give it to him," but he goes, "You'll never see me again. You'll never get any more information." And it goes along with that Project Mockingbird. I really don't remember where I saw that, but that kind of goes with that Project Mockingbird, where you get people, usually journalists, you either bribe them, threaten them, whatever, to get them to do your dirty work. And then if anything goes wrong, you just cut them loose and move on to the next guy. And then so he did. He fed the guy the because he didn't want to lose his contact. He didn't want to lose his inside information. And then when that guy went into the nut house, that cop felt bad. And but he had trusted him, and that's about where he started not trusting him when he started feeding that scientific guy bad information. He knew it. That's when he started losing his credibility. Well, this was one of the things they showed. It was a UFO conference, and it was him up there saying, "Hey, look, this guy here, he's with the government. He's in Air Force intelligence. He's feeding you lies. He's not telling you the truth." And I can't remember, but I think he let him know that he had fed a bunch of, well, through him, but he had fed and the thing that got me was it's the same thing. And this is where you got to distinguish between the UFO people that are sincere and the UFO people that are in a cult, because they were just like the MAGA people. They were just like the people on the far left. At a certain point, they'd rather have the person that lies to them and tells them, they'd rather have the person that lies to them tells them Israel's bad and, Hamas is good or the Palestinians are good, instead of telling them the truth. And he was booed off the stage, and he was one of them. He was trying to help them. And at a certain point, when you get somebody that's so into the cult like that, you just got to cut them loose and let them go. And then when they're ready to come to you, then you can come. Then you can try and help them out. But as long as they're got their head buried in the sand, there's nothing you can kick them in the ass as hard as you want. Some people are just going to be like, "Oh my God, it must be hemorrhoids," and that's where you go. But I was gonna do one. Because, like I said, I'm like, yeah, this is a good way I can tell my personal story. But I couldn't fucking believe it. I had followed the UFO thing, but I had never been, like, in a spot where anybody live was going off on it. And they were talking to the police that had seen it, but I want to say it was like 3 or 4 counties at the time the press came on. Radio, and then every chance, and I think they interrupted their music to kind of report on it. But it was fucking huge, just fucking huge. And it was back in the 90s. I think it was in the 90s somewhere. But oh my God. And it's like, wow, there's an eye opener. But the thing is, when it settled down, there was no answers. You didn't hear anything about it. It was like that case where when I was working third shift, where when we came into work, me and that other guy had heard on the news that they had found life on Mars, and then the next day it was gone. And that's exactly what was happening here. And again, is it Project Mockingbird? Do you get people through bribery or threats? And again, it might not even been the government. They had it so entrenched that, oh, you're nuts if you report on this. But I was watching it a little bit before I got up, and it had Illinois, but it was a different incident. So there's at least two incidents. You had the one I heard was, I believe, and again, it might have been in the daytime. That's one, unless they were reporting it from the night before or something. But it sounded like it was going on, and it was like, I think it was like 4, 5, 6 o'clock or something like that. I think I don't know, but they but again, it sounded live, and this one here was. I started watching it at the end of it because I had watched it before, and so I had a save spot at somewhere in the middle. Well, then and it was only like 5, 10, 15 minutes. And then I resumed it to the beginning and started watching. I was going to come in here and take notes and do it, and it just fell apart. And I kind of wanted to do it. I'm like, well, this isn't that bad yet. It's not great, but it never is. But the one that they had on, and it was near the end of the thing, that was Illinois, and I think that one was at night too. But that one had started, and maybe it was the whole thing. Maybe it was the whole thing. But then I rewound it to the beginning, and it was they were talking about the certain day when the Illinois uh, police officers woke up or got on shift. It was at night, I believe, or it was way early in the morning. It was dark out when they were doing the recreations, and they they were hearing all these reports from Ohio, and because they're connected. They're Ohio. They could hear them, but it doesn't make sense to me because I think Indiana is in between them. But they said there was all these reports from Ohio, and I think it was Illinois. Maybe it was Indiana. I don't know. I might have got that mixed up, but it was all these reports from Ohio, and then they followed the craft, and then it went into Pennsylvania. And again, I don't know if it was multiple ones. It might have been because sometimes those shows give you like three or four good stories. But but I'm just I'm gonna eventually do that one, but I'm just not gonna get it done today. But then what I did is when I came in here, I started watching something, and it's on Tubi. So if you move quick, you can watch it all together with commercials. And it's called the UF movie they don't want you to see. Now this is a documentary, and the guy in question, he's doing it. He does his job is he does a lot of he's working for or he owns and runs. I don't know the setup, but he's with uh, a documentary service where they do educational videos. And he said they're limited on what they can do is because they can't talk theory. They only can talk about it. It's probably got to do with either the company or their tax exempt status, or to qualify for the whatever. And there's something in it that they have speculators. They have to specifically do certain things, and that's something I would really like. I would love, and I don't know if it would qualify or not, but I would love to do one of those where you are pointing out, like with politics, eh, I'm gonna deviate just a little bit because it's related to this story, but I would love to do one that I'd have to have some people that are talented. I could kind of drive the boat, but I need people to keep me from getting on the fucking rocks. But I would love to do one where you're pointing out the uh, the problems with the Republican Party, and because they haven't done it since, at least I haven't seen it. But it was a number of years ago. I think Bush was president. Might have been when he was. Might have been after his 8 years were up. But there was all these Republicans. It was like one of the first times they had like 20 fucking people running for the Republican ticket, and a lot of them were in Congress, and they didn't have any foreign policy experience, so they went on vacation. And yeah, I'm sure that's going to give you a whole heap and load of fucking policy experience at foreign policy. But they went overseas to UK, Europe, and whatnot, and they they were basically blasted by the press. Because I mean, certain ones, they not everybody, but like, there's some of these people that are just bad news. And I think that Speaker of the House is one now. But like, you had a guy, he stood up on, he was arguing against climate change or global warming, and he stood up and he's got a snowball. And I'm sorry, if you have anything to do with global warming and your argument is a snowball, you're too fucking stupid to be in government. Yeah, you just are. Go make that seat available to somebody more deserving of it. And what they were doing was they were pointing out that, and they were quoting them. They were, looking at their actions, looking at what they've done, looking at what they've said, things they should be held accountable for. And they pointed out if you were to run over here, you'd be laughed out of office or laughed off the ticket because, you've got a religious viewpoint that's just not realistic. And they got hammered. They just got shit hammered. And then they didn't go overseas anymore. Foreign policy wasn't that important. And I gotta admit, I'm not saying they did it for me. I don't know, but I've been kind of talking to, look, you guys have to get on this. You have a duty to inform us. There's a show on HBO years ago, The Newsroom. They said that, we used to do great things. We did. Not so much anymore because we were informed by great people. And I go, you've got to inform these people that these people are just fucking nuts. And I was tweeting out, stitching out today, that you guys need, because you look at it with the issue with Roe v. Wade, that's a religious issue. We would not be having an issue with Roe v. Wade if we didn't have religious nuts in office. I mean, just you just can't get around the fact, and we need. I'd love to do one that looks at the Republican Party from a religious standpoint and point out, when it goes back to, and go through the history of it. It'll look a lot like the movie Religulous, but I'd love to do that where and you could point out facts, you could point out what's going on. Because I mean, I'm not kidding you. That Speaker of the House, he thinks he was appointed by God. He thinks of himself as Moses, and fucking Trump thinks he's Trump himself. He's having delusions too. He's thinking he's just like King David, and I mean, we're not going to survive if we got to keep this up. And I'm going to end it on this, and I'm going to move on. But there was a fat guy. I think he was in the Governor Association. He was fat like Chris Christie, but I don't think it was him. And he came out in 2016, right after Trump secured the nomination. And there's a few of them that are coming out now. Not the 4 years he was in office, not during any of the impeachments, not when he first started running. They were all kissing his ass, except for Chris Christie. And I think that he only cared because I don't think he really gave a shit that Trump was breaking the law because he was there with him enough when he did it. But I think he cared that Trump lost, and attacking him over real shit was the easiest way to get rid of him. He thought. But um, when you look at this, he came out and he goes, Trump's the nominee. He goes, and I'm gonna boil it down, but he goes, we got two jobs we got to do. He goes, we gotta make sure he doesn't get elected, and Russia and Comey made sure he failed. But he did. He stood up. He was in front of a group of people, and he was talking to him, and then it kind of went around a little bit. Didn't go viral, but he goes, we gotta stop him from getting elected. Well, that failed. And then he goes, the next step is we've got to start a new party. Uh, we got to start a new party for religious or for Republican fiscal Republicans, people that want to balance the budget. Which that's I'm not even going to get into that. Look it up. Eisenhower's the last Republican president who balanced a budget. Most of them can't balance a state budget without handouts from the blue states. But he said we got to make sure that we get a party for fiscal conservatives. And I'll translate that for you. We got to get rid of the gun nuts and we got to get rid of the religious nuts. And they failed. They failed so far at that. And every fucking year that these religious nuts or these gun nuts, these I hate America fucking people, they're going around. It increases the chances that we're gonna fucking lose our country. Um, I don't know. It isn't good. But anyways, back to this. The UFO movie they don't want you to see, and this was something I was like, well, yeah, maybe we can do one on this. This one here, I watched it for. I'm gonna unless I forget, I'm gonna finish watching it later. I'm recommending you go check it out. Uh, I don't think they're 100% right, but I think it's a very, very interesting. I think you should. I think you should see it. But I'm watching it and I'm like 15, 20 minutes and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to type that much. I literally don't want to like the other things. I'm like, I can type notes and I can remember it, but I would have to type down. I'd have to almost type it up word for word. And if I was going to show, but it looks really good. It really looks good. Again, I'm not saying that because like they're starting out and they're talking about Big Bang, and this was made last year. And I don't know if it was the end of the year last year or the beginning of the year, but uh, the newest telescope they put out in orbit, that new telescope that they just put up, they were quoting that. Well, the they didn't it hadn't happened yet. I'm positive when they filmed this it hadn't happened yet. Um, but uh, what they have done with the God, I would uh, can't remember it. I know it. I should be able to remember it. I'm not. I'm fading a little bit, but they uh, they have found solar systems or stars that are older than the Big Bang. I don't know how they know that, but that is a statement of fact. They're not like theorizing when I heard it. Maybe they're wrong, maybe they're lying, but it was not worded like it was a question. They have found solar systems older than the Big Bang. And this might have been before it, but they maybe can't put it in because it's not fact. But I have seen stuff and I think I've read stuff from, well, let's just say it's sources I tend to believe, but they start out they're saying, oh, you can't go faster than the speed of light, And again, because they have to stick to fact, they can't. And he said that he goes, I'm sticking to fact. I'm not including stuff from Star Wars and whatnot and so on. But I think it was something on the Science Channel. It might have been something. It might have been multiple things like Science Channel, Discovery, History Channel. But I know I've gotten it in at least two sources that they have seen stuff that appear to be traveling faster than light. Now that they Kepler, that's the name of the fucking telescope, the Kepler telescope. But I think it's Kepler. I might be wrong, but they have seen things. I don't know if it's whole galaxies or whatever, but they have seen things that have been traveling faster than light. And then it goes to again, that thing I was saying the other day. If you go back to Magellan and you tell him, that you're going to have like tubes of metal with wings that are going to be able to travel in 3 hours what it takes you months to do. He just said the same thing these people were doing. Um, Again, and I'm being completely fair to them, but they should put it into perspective. We don't know how to do it. If it's possible, we don't know how to do it, but we can't say that you can, because we're finding new things out every day. Like again, they just found out the Big Bang Theory has got some problems. Uh, so there, but it's very good. And I'm gonna finish watching this. Might not be today, and I might forget about it, but I intend to finish watching it because it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Uh, uh, well, I'm gonna take that as a win. Peace out. If you rate your congressman, rate them. Try and get legalized the suicide. Try and get assisted suicide legalized. I mean, I'm not in a bad mood. I'm lucid. But it's just I watched my mom die in hospice, and whether I run out of money or whether I get sick, uh, I just I would like some better options. I don't want to have to start stealing for food. I don't want to die of exposure. Uh, I just don't want to live on the street. If you could get assisted suicide legalized. I mean, good God, we're watching kids get killed every day in school because, fucking got these Second Amendment nuts, the gun nuts. We should be able to do something to help out people. If we can watch these kids get mass murdered, we should be able to do something to help out sick people. Um, and I think that's going to be easier than get the government fixed. I really do. I wish it were so, but I look at the shit that we have for politicians. You got roughly half of them that are just pieces of fucking ignorant shit. And then you're dealing with, the other side, with the exception of a few of them, they're afraid to do anything about it. So let's get that going. And then the other thing is, I don't, I don't really know. Maybe write your congressman. And this only helps to do. You got to do the ones in D.C. But write your congressman there and ask them to pass Chuck Schumer's amendment. And I think I was talking about that yesterday. Uh, there's like billions of reasons to do it. Because that's how much money every year. There's like $1 billion or more that come up missing in the Pentagon. We have no idea where it's spent. So there's at least a billion or more reasons why we should do it. But get Chuck Schumer's disclosure thing passed. Uh, and now ask him, until that's done, write up an ironclad thing where FOIA requests have to be honored by any company that is involved with the government anyway. If they get tax breaks, if they get, money pay, if they get, if they get money paid to them, if they get contracts, if they're given anything at all by the U.S. government, they're susceptible to FOIA requests. One way or another, we got to skin this beast and we got to get this country back to we the people and away from these military industrial complex. We got to get them away from the politician bribing people. We got to get them away from the worthless legal fucking cutthroats. We just got to get it back to where this country's for us. Peace out, and I hope you have a good day.